Hey guys, welcome back to Main Character Syndrome. I'm your host, the redhead Alyssa, here with Danielle again. Hey Danielle.
Hello, I am happy to be here again, and I think it's fitting because we're going to talk about Fourth Wing.
Yes.
And you are the one who introduced me to Fourth Wing, and now I recommend it to everyone else.
I always say, welcome to my cult. It's good to have you. Yes, everyone and their mother should read Fourth Wing, no matter what you like to read, because it's just so good.
I have never been like a fantasy kind of person, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you recommended it, I was like, oh, I don't know, because I'm more of like a horror thriller kind of gal. My genres are typically pretty dark. And so I was like, this is not my speed, especially like a romance fantasy novel.
But it was fantastic, wasn't it?
It was fantastic.
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching the YouTube and are wondering why this cover looks like it does, this is the holiday version that I got this year or this last year. This is not the original cover. I actually let Becca from one of my other podcasts borrow it. So she is reading that for the first time, and what I wouldn't give to read this series for the first time again.
Yeah, and have no idea what's going to happen. I'd like to pick her brain about it too.
I would. I would love to be a fly on that wall and like watch her reactions. Like,
right. Because now we've read it multiple times.
I know. So, spoiler alert for Fourth Wing. If you have not read it, go read it, come back and listen to our podcast because we are going to do a little bit of a deep dive. We're not going to give any spoilers for Iron Flame. So,
but we
no
have
worries
both
about
read
that.
it. So we kind of know what happens. But yeah, no spoilers from that.
Yeah. Once we do one for Iron Flame, I think we come back to Fourth Wing and go through things that we missed if you didn't read the second one.
Yeah.
That would be kind of fun.
That's why I went back and read the first again. I was like, wait a second. There had to have been signs.
There were.
And there are plenty of signs.
There are plenty of signs. Okay. So getting into Fourth Wing, let's talk about characters. So let's start with Violet.
Brave.
I
mean, and she's the underdog. I like to relate. I like to sympathize with villains sometimes.
Yeah.
And I like to relate to underdogs.
Okay.
Because kind of like main character syndrome.
Yep.
I think a lot of times we like to see ourselves as underdogs and rise to the top. But yeah, Violet's certainly an underdog who proves everyone wrong. She's just awesome.
Yeah, she doesn't start out like a bad character or a baddie character right away. Like she has a brilliant mind. She has the mind of a scribe that's going to go into the college to be a writer. And when she was training her whole life to be a scribe.
Yeah.
So the story is based off of 20-year-old Violet Sorrengail, and she goes to Basgiath War College because her mom basically makes her go into the writer's quadrant when she really was going to be a scribe, which means she was just going to read books and transcribe all these scrolls her whole life.
And kind of give away war information.
Yes.
Write all of the war information and get those that information out to everyone.
But her mother, the war general, General Sorrengail, had other plans. So Violet is now at Basgiath War College as a writer.
Yes.
And she's kind of navigating that way. But also what's interesting about her character is that she has like this kind of connective tissue disorder, which just makes her breakable and easy to break and easy to bruise. So
which happens a lot.
This poor girl knows pain more than anybody should.
Yeah. I'm like, how do you do it? Like, she's like, oh yeah, my arm's broken.
Yeah,
or
it's just hang in there. And I'm like, I would literally die on the spot.
Yeah. And she's like, I don't want to see a healer. And I'm like, why not?
Why not?
Why not, girlfriend?
Take the resources that you have, girl.
Yeah.
Take them and run. But it was interesting to see that she didn't start out powerful and just she was witty, but she wasn't strong.
That is her strength. Her mind is her strength. And you can tell throughout the entire book that that's what she uses to her biggest advantage. And that's kind of her one up over all of these other people in the writer's quadrant.
Yeah. And she is so brave despite all of what the world has against her and everything that she does not have. She uses her mind to basically figure out how to compensate for that.
And like everyone's like, she's the weakest link. She's the weakest link. And it's just kind of funny that you're like, is she though? I mean, while she doesn't have all of the big muscles, like there are so many other qualities and traits that you can have that make you strong.
She has a target on her back. Number one, she's General Sorrengail's daughter. Number two, she is weak. Her body is weak. And so they think that that is detrimental to their wing. And it's like, no, she can be strong in other places too. And she shows us.
Yeah.
As Xaden says, the right way is not the only way.
Yes.
So she figures that out. And it's really fun to see her take that and run with it, especially when she is poisoning her challengers in order to not fight them physically, but she fights them mentally.
Yeah.
Especially Jack Barlow.
Especially Jack Barlow.
And
over
oranges.
And over
That's what I was just like, I really hope that your demise is an orange slice and not a dagger to the heart, which you deserve.
He's allergic to oranges.
Exactly.
And it's like, yeah, it's just so fitting. You're like, I wish an orange did kill you.
Yeah.
It needs to be that petty.
It does. And you think you're this big bad wolf. You're strong, you're fast, whatever. You can get on a dragon and she can't. But you die because you touched an orange.
Yeah, I wish he had died in that moment.
It would have been amazing.
It would have saved us a lot of trouble.
Okay, Mira. What do you think of Mira?
Mira, great sister. She's also obviously the general's daughter, and she kind of like has this big presence, in the college. And it's like, oh, you're General Sorrengail's daughter, but also you're Mira's daughter. So it's like Violet almost is like trying to live up to their legacy, but she's going to create her own legacy. So I think Mira's awesome.
Yeah, she is Mira's little sister. So obviously she should be formidable. She should be a formidable opponent that everybody looks to beat. But in reality, she's kind of the weakest link. But Mira's very much a genius, where she gives Violet this corset of dragon scales, which has saved her life more than you could possibly know.
Yeah. The dragon scale vest was genius. And I loved like the sexual innuendo when she's like giving it to her, and she's like, how'd you make it? Like, how'd you make these scales so small? And she goes, oh, I know a guy who could shrink things.
I know a guy.
And you're like,
you can change sizes of different things. It was funny. I
was like,
that was great.
That's humorous.
Okay, Rhiannon.
Great. She's like the best friend that you like dream of having. Like, she's such a leader. She's so loyal. And she's like, I got your back. I'm going to help you. You're going to help me. And when Violet gives her the shoe, that was like, okay, we're cool.
Yeah. That's when I instantly really liked Violet too. I was like, oh, wow, you're brilliant and you're super selfless. Because you didn't have to give this girl that you had no idea who she is your shoe so she crosses the parapet and doesn't slip off and fall to her death.
Yeah. And she would have. The storm came in right as they're crossing. It's like torrential downpouring. Yeah. And, she had crappy shoes on.
Yep. But Rhiannon's a formidable opponent as well. She's very good at fighting. We find out.
I'd hate to be punched in the face by her.
I would too. But she punches a few of the men in the face, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
They needed to be knocked down a peg a little bit. But Rhiannon is definitely one of my favorite characters with character growth as well. Because, she is a formidable opponent in the beginning, but she grows into such a leader. And we find that out later on in the series. But Rhiannon's just like a girl's girl.
She's a girl's girl. And she's, like I said, like the best friend that you want.
Yeah. And
she's like, oh, you're in a bad situation. I got your back. And she's always there.
Riddick. What do you think of Riddick?
What an idiot.
He's just stupid.
I love him, though. It's like throughout the entire book, you're like, how have you not died yet?
Yeah. He's like the class clown that never dies.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm glad he hasn't. Love him. Like, he's like the comic relief to all of these situations. But yeah, you're like, you don't have like, I think, a huge brain.
Yeah.
So
he thinks with other things, but
exactly.
And then we have Riddick, and then I feel like Garrick is almost the same as Riddick, where they have like the same personalities, where Riddick and Garrick is pretty funny, but Garrick also just checks Xaden all the time. He's like, you need to check yourself, bro.
Yeah, I think everyone needs that kind of friend. It's like, actually watch yourself.
Yeah, I grew to love Garrick towards the end of Fourth Wing. I was like, okay, I can deal with you. You're cool.
Yeah.
Same with Bodhi. Bodhi was just kind of like a take charge kind of character. Yes, he was Xaden's cousin, but I mean, he just kind of did things when Xaden couldn't. So if they had to go on a mission, he would go. Or he would go with Xaden.
Yeah, they're great friends to Xaden. And like I said, they're just kind of like loyal people, but all of the quote unquote marked ones are so loyal to Xaden for good reason, but they watch out for each other, and that's just so respectable.
Yeah. Going into Xaden, the fact that he took 107, I don't even know what they are, scars, slashes,
like whip
marks. I don't know, but 107 marks on his body that couldn't have been pleasant.
Yeah.
Just to save these marked ones and let them have a chance at life in this war college.
Yeah. It's very honorable. It's hard to think about, but that just kind of shows also his like leadership. He's like, my dad was, the leader of this rebellion.
Yep.
And so he kind of has taken over that role. Like, I'm going to lead all of these other children who are now put in this really terrible situation and forced to go into this quadrant because, they expect them to die in it. I'm going to lead them and prove, these generals wrong, and I'm going to try and keep all of them alive, as many as I can.
Xaden's that character that you love to hate. So like right off the bat, he has a bone to pick with Violet because she's General Sorrengail's daughter, but he doesn't actively go out to hurt her. Like he could easily with his shadows, like he could just kill her. But we find out even when she's spying in the tree, he like gives her the benefit of the doubt. Like, are you going to tell people about my little club?
Yeah.
She says no. He believes her. We find out other things in the next book, but every time, every turn, he is trying to make Violet better and not hold her back like Dane does.
Oh, Dane.
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 Damn it, Dane.
We hate you, Dane.
We do. We despise Dane.
Yeah.
Especially in Fourth Wing.
It's like you have just these two characters. You have Xaden, you have Dane, and they couldn't be more opposite.
Oh, 100%. Dane is like, you can't do this, Violet. You need to leave. We need to get you to the scribes. You have been trained to be a scribe for your whole life, and you've only been training to be a writer for 6 months. And it's like, why don't you have a little faith in our girl, Dane?
Yeah. And kind of like, I think I said in the prior episode, I like to be like a villain sympathizer sometimes. I like to think about maybe like what got them to this point, the trauma that took them there. So like with Dane, I sympathized like when he first saw Violet, when she first crossed the parapet, and this is someone that he loves, maybe not at this moment in like an exact romantic way, but like he's like, I have to protect her, she cannot do this. I was like, okay, yeah, I would feel the same way if like my sister was in this situation, and I would be like, okay, let's get her out of here. What can we do?
Yeah.
So when he was first like that, I was like, yeah, please help Violet. She's going to die.
Yeah, she doesn't belong here.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I get that. But then it's like, after she's like continuously proven herself over and over again, you're like, give it a rest.
And she's starting to feel like she belongs there, which makes his words hurt even more.
Yeah. It's just like you have no confidence in her ability, and it almost makes it feel like he has some type of insecurity, because I'm like, after she bonds with 2 dragons, one of them being like the second largest behind Coda, it's like, are you just like insecure
but when you have to choose, pick the little one.
Yeah, pick the little one,
because you can't handle the big dragons. Like, excuse you?
Yeah. I was like, okay. Like, that's when like my blood boiled, and I was like, oh, someone kill this guy.
That was the biggest ick in my opinion. I was like, ew, Dane.
Yeah, like you can't handle the big one. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
If
you won't be able to stay on.
Yeah, if you ride Terran round. It's like, okay, no,
next. Xaden, your turn.
Yeah. Right.
That's what I compare Xaden and Violet to Tamlin and Feyre, because Violet really liked Dane throughout her childhood, and like that's who she wanted a long time ago. But then as she's turning into this rider, this strong, independent person, she is finding out she doesn't want to be she doesn't want to be protected. She doesn't want to be left in a cage, and as a scribe. She doesn't want to go back to the scribes and do what she would in her old life. She wants to be a rider. She wants to do this. And she wants to ride a dragon. And Xaden is all for it. Xaden wants to train her. Xaden wants to help her better herself to achieve this goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he kind of wants to train her, though, after she bonds the dragon.
Yeah.
Because he's like, wait, my life's bonded to hers. But I mean, he had so many opportunities to kill her before, and he never did. So, like, there was obviously some kind of connection there.
Well, and he could have let her get caught with poisoning her opponents, too. But instead, he's like, let me show you what actually to do in a knife fight.
Yeah, he did help her out, in so many situations, like with the gauntlet and stuff. So he was always there supporting her, rooting for her, kind of maybe behind the scenes, behind his shadows. But yeah, he definitely helped her get to like where she was, to bonding a dragon, and then becoming this really awesome rider.
And let's talk about threshing, because that step, the single step that he took towards helping Violet,
it's like, gasp.
Yeah.
He stepped.
Oh my gosh, he is willing to break the rules.
He must love her.
He must really, if not love, really be infatuated with her, really not want her to die.
Yeah.
Other than what he has led everyone else to believe. And then Dane could never. No. Dane is a rule follower to the T, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
It's like, you won't even break the rules to help your best friend when she's in a life or death situation.
Like, you've been trying to sneak her out and like protect her, but when it comes to like the actual codex, like the rules, you're like, no, can't break those.
No, can't touch the codex.
Would have never stepped into threshing to save my friend.
I would never interfere.
Yeah, even though, these men are trying to kill a dragon.
Yeah.
That's like, that should be like rule number 1 in the codex. Hey, don't kill the dragons that we ride.
And I'm pretty sure it is, but they're not allowed to interfere with threshing. But Xaden's like, screw that. She needs my help. So he took that single step. That single step said a lot about Xaden's character and a lot about Dane's character when Xaden comes up to him and is like, okay, tell me. I'm going to order you right now. I'm going to pull rank. Would you have done the same thing? Would you have broken the rules to save Violet? He said, no.
No.
Violet, you know the rules. I can't break the rules. It's the codex. It's like, you could see in the book too that she just got the ick.
Her heart sank. It was just like, wow.
Yeah,
this is
her
not
heart sank.
My
she was
friend.
like, oh, I don't think I like him anymore. And then the boy had the audacity to kiss her.
And then kissed her. I was like, oof, no. Read the room, buddy.
And then she was just like, oh, this was something.
Yeah, I'm glad that, when they kissed, she was just immediately like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for a love triangle with that one. I was like, you better go with Xaden.
Yeah.
Dane is not even on the table.
Yeah.
My favorite one is, so with this special holiday edition of Fourth Wing, you get 2 bonus chapters from Xaden's point of view. One of them is when they're sparring on the mat, and he tells her that he knows that she's been poisoning her opponents. The other one is after threshing, when he sees Violet and Dane kiss. And he describes it as when he's watching Violet, and her expression is like she kissed her cousin.
Well, I mean, he has that like older brother feel. Like it's just too overprotective.
Yeah.
Like, so you're like, okay, like it does feel like he's like the protective older brother for her. And so I'm like,
to just the worst part. Like, he's the worst protective older brother.
Yeah.
Who likes his sister.
Like kisses her, and it's
like kissing your cousin. I was like, oh, that's funny.
You're like, yeah, that's feels true right now.
Did you ever have a moment like that?
Yeah, probably. Probably.
I've definitely had moments where I'm like, oh, this looks like you would be kind of an interesting prospect. Let's see where things go. And it was like, the first kiss is just like, nope.
Yeah. Nope. You're like ducking away. Bad idea.
Thank you. Next.
Evacuating.
Cringe city. Yeah. Let me tell you. Oh, man. Okay. Let's talk about the dragons. Taryn and Darna.
Oh, man. Taryn's my favorite.
Yeah.
He is probably like my favorite, one of my favorite, at least, if not the favorite character I have in the book. Because he's basically like the grumpy old man. And you're just like, I feel ya. I feel his pain. And he reminds me of like a situation we're like, he's pulled into threshing. Like he doesn't want to be there.
Right.
He's not planning to bond with anyone. And then the fight happens. Violet's in danger and Darna's in danger. And Segale, his mate, is there. And it's like, you need to come here now and fix this.
Yeah.
And so he's like pulled in. And it just makes me think about all of like the husbands, the significant others, and anyone who's like doesn't want to be in a situation. And I'm like, no, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm like, Andrew, we're doing this.
Andrew, we're doing this.
You need to fix this situation now. Yep. And he's like, I just want to retire. That's what Taran's like. He's like, I just want to relax. He just wants to be with Segale.
Yeah, well, and his rider just recently died too. And so he's not looking to get back into battle. But here he is, because as Xaden told Dane, when Dane was like, you interfered with threshing, he's like, well, I saw it, but you should have asked me if Segale saw it, because she did. And she told her mate to come and save the day.
And fix this situation.
Yeah.
Like in Darna, who they've kind of like adopted almost.
That's such a cute relationship.
It is. And Darna and Segale's relationship is really cute.
Yeah. And Taran even.
Oh, he's the grumpy grandpa dad.
Yeah, he's like the grumpy dad. And she's just like this spiteful little teenager.
Yeah. So, that's a funny relationship. And it's interesting when we get into Iron Flame to kind of see how she grows and develops.
Yeah, her comments in the next book are my favorites.
Yeah, they're spicy and funny. And I think we can all relate to her in the future. But right now, she kind of reminds me of like my dog.
Yeah.
She's like so loving and cute. And she has like a high-pitched voice. And, like whenever I think about how my dog would speak to me, I'm like, I think she would talk to me like how Darna speaks to Violet.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So when we talked about Dane, one of my Dane icks too was that he had to know everything.
Yeah.
And with Violet, he had no boundaries. Like when Amber Mavis led the unbonded into her room to kill her at night, where she's supposed to be safe while sleeping. Basically, he's like, let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see. I don't believe you.
Well, because he just couldn't believe that someone who was like him, very similar to him, could ever break the rules. He's like, I know you're lying, because like you would break the rules basically to Violet. But Amber, this girl he was, hooking up with, she was just like him. And she was like, you broke the rules, Violet. You broke the rules, Violet. And then lo and behold, she breaks the rules to try and get Violet killed.
Yeah.
And that is also a big rule. Like, you don't kill a writer in their sleep.
Yeah. Why would you believe your best friend over someone who follows the rules all the time?
Exactly.
They were a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Amber, shut up.
I was like, in that moment, I really wish Dane would have been like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
But it's the fact that he was like, give me your memories.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see, give me your memories. And she's like, get away from me.
No boundaries.
You don't have any permission to touch me right now.
Yeah, that was so unacceptable.
And then he takes her memory anyways when Xaden goes to Athbean, and he finds out that Athbean is significant to Xaden and the rebellion.
Yeah.
And we find out it was.
Yeah. And it's just like, Dane just feels so entitled.
Yes.
And so, like, I mean, your signet, is kind of like a reflection of yourself, like what they say. And I was like, yeah, that is spot on. He's a know-it-all. He has to be in control of everything.
Nope.
And it's just not good. And so Dane will never be able to have like a strong friendship, a strong, romantic relationship with anyone until he can kind of get over that hump where it's like, you need to release some control.
Yeah.
And you can't know everything. You're not going to have a healthy relationship until you release that thought, that mindset.
Words to live by.
Yeah, right. Don't control everything.
Yeah.
But I also have to remind myself that all the time.
Oh, I know. I have to check myself and be like, you actually don't need to know everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to be right all the time. I need to relinquish that control.
Yeah. I cannot be in control of every situation, even though I really would like to be.
Okay, Liam. My cinnamon roll.
My heart. I love him. I love that he's like kind of a player, but he's like a cool, like good kind of player.
He's a player, but he's so loyal to Violet.
Yeah.
Because of Xaden. But like, he protects this girl.
Yeah. He has a lot of respect, I feel like, for Violet. He's like Dane, like the opposite of Dane, but like that kind of role that you wish Dane was for Violet. Liam kind of takes that over and is like, you know, I'm gonna protect you, but I understand that you can hold your own.
Yeah. I'm also gonna let you fight for yourself as well.
Yeah. And they develop like that great friendship like outside of Xaden. And they I believe Liam like kind of like lets her get away with things that Xaden doesn't want her to get away with, fighting with certain people and stuff. And so they develop kind of their own great friendship, which I think is awesome. And then, spoiler alert, he dies.
I know. Oh, it's been my honor. Gut wrenching.
Yeah,
knife to the heart.
I was sobbing. I was like, no, not Liam, not Liam. I think they gave him a good death, though. Rebecca gave him a good death. It was sad because, you know, the dragon died. And it's like, well, why does he have to die?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're so connected.
And so you just like watch him slowly die. And I was like, oh my
I
heart.
know. It's like Violet did absolutely everything to keep you alive. And your dragon is killed. And so you die now. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
And then Xaden is holding his brother. It's like, oh, tears.
Yeah. That was such a strong moment and powerful. And I don't know. I think that's a death I won't get over.
Yeah, that was hard. And then the next book is even harder.
Well, don't even get me started on that.
We'll talk about that more in Iron Flame.
I cried a lot.
But if you know, you know.
Yeah. But then when Liam is like, you know, Sloane's coming in, I want you to like watch over my sister and stuff. I was like, okay, great. Like, this is going to be good. We kind of have Sloane replacing him. And then, we're not going to get into Iron Flame, but Sloane.
We will eventually.
Man, Sloane just drove me nuts. So we can talk about that later. I did not like her as much as I liked Liam.
She was also very much a Spitfire.
But Sawyer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a realist, kind of. Like, I try to be a little real when I read these books, and everyone loves Xaden. I love Xaden. He's a daddy.
He's daddy.
He's daddy. But Sawyer, I was like, I think in real life you would be my boyfriend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's definitely probably one of my favorite characters. He's like, it's like not that like enemies to lover kind of feel. He's like doesn't have all of these red flags waving around. He's like, yeah, I didn't bond to anyone last year, so I'm gonna try again. And he's just persistent, and he's a great leader and a good friend. And I'm like, yeah, okay, in real life I'd probably go after you.
Yeah. That's awesome. Andrew should be jealous.
Yeah. Andrew, you're lucky these people are alive.
Yeah, you're lucky this is fiction.
Yeah, just kidding.
Okay. I think we touched on this a little bit, but General Sorrengail.
Bad mother. She sucks. I just kind of like wish we got more of her story throughout the book, because like I was constantly thinking about like, correct me, stop me if I've already spoken about this. But I wish we got more of her, because you're like, she's married to a scribe, and we hear that Violet's dad is just like so honorable and he's great. And you're like, okay, well, why did he like General Sorrengail? Because she sucks.
Yeah.
Like, she's so mean. She's like the complete opposite. And like, opposites attract. Well, you're like, no, not necessarily. Like, in this situation, they're so completely different. He's a scribe. She's a writer. There has to be some type of common ground. And so we don't really understand that. But I keep like trying to think about that throughout this book. I'm like, there has to be some redeeming quality, because why would a man that's so honorable, like Violet's dad that we hear about, want to be with this heinous woman?
Yeah. It makes me wonder if she wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
Because I think she had a loving relationship with Violet and Mira and Brennan. But I think with the passing of her husband, and there was something about a fever that she had that I'm still kind of fixating on, with being the reason that Violet's hair is the way that it is.
I don't know.
It's interesting. There are a couple conspiracy theories about Violet and her hair, thinking that Her dad was Venom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Be interesting to see if that's true or not. But yeah, it's going to be this series. There's 5 books in the series. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I am excited. I'm buckled up and I'm ready to ride this roller coaster.
So I don't really read books necessarily. This is like, you know, it can be polarizing, but I listen to the audiobooks. And so when listening to this audiobook and when listening to A Court of Silver Flame,
yes,
I just like, whew,
yeah,
I felt so bad and uncomfortable for those actresses who are reading. I was like, I would like to interview you and ask how this went for you, because just listening to it, I mean, reading it, I feel like is a little bit different when you're actually holding the book, but listening to it aloud, it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it's a little much. I'm not going to lie. Like when you read it on a page, it's completely different than listening to it and listening to someone else speak it to you. I started listening to graphic audiobooks, and I found those, which it's like dramatized. So you get a full cast, you get sound effects, and you get music. The sound effects is what really gets me when there are spicy scenes, because their voices sound like they're in the act. And it's just like, oh, cringe city.
Yeah, you just like crawl out of your skin.
Yeah. I just feel like I'm watching a porno at this point. Like in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, they're doing that.
Yeah, when I've been listening to these books, I typically like would naturally do it like by myself. Like I'm getting ready for work, I'm doing my makeup and stuff. One night I was getting ready to, I think, go on a date with my husband, and I was listening to Court of Silver Flame, and all of a sudden it goes from like she's like fighting someone to next thing you know they are in the act, like it is going down. And my husband walks in the room right at this time and he's like, whoa, what are you listening to? And I was like,
smut.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel dirty right now. I feel like I've been caught in some bad act. Like I'm sorry, I don't know. Like this wasn't like that 2 seconds ago. You walked in at literally the worst time. And then when I'm driving in the car, I'm like, audio down. Like I don't want people to listen to me.
Yeah,
like,
I don't want this 85-year-old woman in her little Prius like looking over and be like, what are you listening to?
Be like, oh gosh, this girl nasty.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to actually like listen to these books and not read it. And I feel for the readers, the actresses who are
that would be an interesting job as a narrator. Jack Barlow.
Oh, kill him.
I really hope he dies by an orange someday.
Yeah, right. Just kill him off.
Just kill him
now.
I mean, Violet did with her lightning, but I just kind of wish like it was just such a petty death. Would be an orange.
I know. I wish he died sooner. I wish Amber died sooner.
But when Amber died, it was very cathartic because it was just kind of, Taryn was like, I'm going to kill you. And Violet's like, no, don't kill her. She's fine. We can be friends. And then Taryn's like, burn, baby, burn.
Oh, baby. And then we're all dancing and we're like, bye, Amber.
We're dancing on her ashes.
Yeah.
And Dane is just sitting there like, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I have egg on my face.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love is like Etsy is coming out with all of this like stuff and merch, and there are like different things that are fully licensed with Sarah J. Maas and like able to sell all of this stuff, and Rebecca Yarros and all of these authors. And so Etsy has like a bunch of merch and all of these other websites, and there's a bookmark that's going around that says Dane is a bitch. And I've been tempted to buy it more than once.
I feel that. Just like throughout the entire book, you're just like rolling your eyes. Where like, anytime Dane speaks, you're like, goodbye.
Yeah, stop.
I'm done with this.
Thank you, next, Dane.
And then Jack, I just constantly wish that he was just killed off sooner. And like, what a little twerp.
Yeah, like that's what I felt too. He was just this arrogant little craphead that you just hated in the beginning. And I know you have to have that heinous villain that will do absolutely anything to get to the top. But he was almost annoying and evil at the same time.
Yeah. And then it's like when they're trying to kill Andarna and Violet's there fighting against it, and like she hurts him and he's like, okay, I'm running away now.
Yeah.
And he runs away. I'm like, no, if you're going to be a villain like that, if you're going to act like a tough guy, back it up.
Own up to it, man.
Yeah.
Like, be evil. Don't be a coward.
He was a coward. He ran away. And so I'm like, you suck this entire
he does
time.
Suck the whole thing.
And I thought it was fitting that he's struck down by lightning.
I thought that was pretty poetic. My favorite part was like Violet's like, I am the sky and everything infinite. And I was like, yes, you are, girl. Kill him.
Slay.
Get him. Okay. What was Violet's biggest act of bravery?
Well, I'd say sneaking into her mother's office.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, well, your mother seems like she hates you, basically. And you're like, you know what'd be fun? Breaking into my mom's office and showing her that they're not invincible.
This is like the biggest F you to General Zorn.
Yeah, it's like middle fingers up, Mom, and all of you guys. So I liked that.
Yeah. You didn't think I could do it. Watch this. I'm going to break into your office and steal your map.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
I did think that was awesome. She had so many brave moments, but I think one that stood out to me most was when she puts her heart on her sleeve with Xaden and goes onto the parapet to get to him because he's having such a crappy day because it's the anniversary of his dad's death and everybody's celebrating.
And like she's basically wearing a parachute.
Like, she's wearing a dress.
Wearing a dress.
The first time she was on that parapet, she was scared to death that she was going to fall and slip and fall and she was going to die. And here's this girl practically dancing on the parapet to go to the man that she loves.
Yeah.
That's such a brave thing for me. And I feel like that was a moment that Violet came full circle.
Yeah.
Like you came onto this parapet such a different person than you are now.
Yeah, that's when you really see this like huge character development. Like this one obstacle that was like insane to you to start the book off is now like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to walk across it. I'm going to go support the man I love.
Do you think you could cross the parapet?
You know, I hate heights.
Yeah.
I think I would because I would want to be a writer really bad.
Yeah.
But my legs would probably be shaking the whole time.
Yeah. Can't do that when you're crossing a teeny tiny little thin parapet.
No, but I was a gymnast, so I know how to cross the balance beam.
There you go. So. Strengths for that. That's a good advantage. Mine would be I think I'd pass the parapet. I don't think I would pass the gauntlet. It reminds me of like American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
And like that last final wall, I'm like, no.
No, I think probably one of the most memorable moments for me when reading the book was like always like constantly wondering how Violet was going to get over that last obstacle. And then when it's like revealed, like she does it with a knife, I'm like, oh yeah.
And
that was awesome.
Amber Mavis, you cheated. You can't do that. It's like Xaden's like,
and then she recites the codex to Amber. I was like, once again, mic drop.
Mic drop. Shut her up. She's a baddie. She knows. She got you.
Yeah. But it made me upset that they had Orly die.
Yeah.
On the parapet the gauntlet when she was like, yeah, I love this. Like, I'm so excited for it. Like her character was like just introduced and I was like, oh, I like this girl. She rocks. And she goes, I've been practicing this my whole life. And then dies on it. I was like, that's cruel.
That was kind of a little bit of foreshadowing too, because she's like, oh, I do this all the time. I'm like, you are not going to make it.
I know, but I didn't want to admit it after I read that.
You relate to her the most.
Yeah.
So Violet likes to say, I will not die today. If you were at Basgiath, what would be your mantra?
My mantra, I really have one kind of that I follow. I try to follow every day, or like something that gets me through hard moments, kind of like for her.
Yeah.
I always say everything is going to be all right. It's kind of the quote from the David Lee Murphy and Kenny Chesney song.
Oh, cute.
But yeah, really, like in any hard times, I'll turn that song on. Or if I'm not by my phone or can't turn music on, I just say that to myself. Everything is going to be all right. Like you're going to get through this. Like this too shall pass.
There's a couple songs that I think of. One is Tim McGraw's Humble and Kind. So whatever you're going through, always stay humble and kind. I always say it's my mantra that it doesn't cost anything to be kind. You don't need to be mean. There's no reason to. Just be a nice person and you can live your life the way that you want.
It's not hard to be kind, and we need more people
Exactly.
to be kind.
And then another one is, I'm a huge Shania Twain fan as well as a Taylor Swift fan, but there's a song called Up.
I love that
it's
song.
My favorite. Yes. And I'm like, can only go up from here.
Oh my gosh, that song will put a smile on your face. Like no matter what mood you're in. Yeah. That is such a good one.
Shania's my girl.
Oh yeah.
Okay, which quadrant would you choose if you were at Basgiath? Would you be a rider? Would you be a scribe, a healer, or would you be in the infantry?
It is so easy to say that I will be a rider.
You'd be a rider.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm obsessed with dragons.
Yes, me too.
After watching Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
I have to be a rider. I actually wasn't this last Halloween, the Halloween before, my husband and I, we like to carve pumpkins and we like to like spice it up and carve hard things sometimes. And so the year prior to last year, I carved a dragon.
Wow.
A really awesome one.
That's awesome.
That I'm really proud of.
I have to see pictures.
Yeah,
my goodness.
I'll have to show you.
Okay. Would you change anything in the book after you've read it?
I'd have less sex in the book.
Less spicy scenes.
Yeah, less spicy scenes. That's just not my style. But I loved all of the action. So I was like, I want more riding dragons. I want more punching people in the face, like slay all the venom. But yeah, so like during the sex scenes, I would just like fast forward.
Yeah. Well, and listening to it on the audiobook is kind of another ball game.
Yeah. And some people like that. So I mean, I will say Fourth Wing was a lot better. Now that I've read Court of Silver Flame, it wasn't as graphic as that one.
Silver Flames was a wild ride.
I thought about putting that one down. I was like, I cannot with this anymore.
It was just constant, one chapter after the other.
Like when a book is that long and like 50% of it is probably dirty stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. Oh, that's amazing. Well, and I would also like a little bit more of emotional connection with Xaden and Violet, because Violet actually was like the pick-me girl. She was like, what are we? After the first time that they slept together, I was like, girl, no, that is one thing you don't do.
No, play the game. Come on.
Make him chase you a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be like toxic.
Yeah.
But don't be clingy.
Don't be like, what are we?
What are we?
Like, what was it? Literally the week that they hung out for the first time? And it was just like, oh my God.
And then when she's bonded and then they have like the mental bond and she's like, what's your favorite dessert? Just girl, stop.
I did kind of like that. That was kind of cute. Where she was just
funny.
like, I love the banter. That's what I love the most in any romantic-y novel, like rom-com, anything like that. It's the banter. And I love like laughing while like seeing these characters connect.
But I mean, I kind of got it, when she was asking him like silly questions like that, because he is like an open book. Like he's been through a lot in his life. He doesn't know if he can trust her. He doesn't know who he can trust.
Right.
And so he doesn't really open up willingly. And so she's like trying to pull like the tiniest of information out of him. So I mean, it was cute, but I was like, girl,
you're acting a little desperate.
Yeah.
Little desperate. Which brings me to my question. Xaden obviously has had trauma after trauma. He watched his dad be executed. He had these 107 marks on his back for the marked ones. Was he justified in keeping the secret about the rebellion and the venom?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's General Sorengil's daughter, like that he's talking to. And you can't just give that information out to anyone. Yeah. Like he would die for what he was doing. And I'm also a person who believes like trust is earned. It's not given. And I mean, I can totally understand his belief in that as well. Like, can he trust her? And she's grown up believing a complete lie. Yeah. Whereas he's grown up knowing the truth.
And that's hard to change people's minds.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to think she would have thought originally that he was crazy or just anything that would have given her more reason to be like, I don't trust him. Maybe he is bad and maybe we should kill him.
I feel like she just had to see it with her own eyes, and she did.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, that made it really frustrating. I was really frustrated then when she felt betrayed. I'm like, why do you not get this?
I understand she feels like he lied to her the whole time, which he may have bent the truth a few times, but it was all to protect the 107 marked ones that are under his care, under his leadership. You know, it's one person versus 107.
Yeah. And he's doing the courageous thing. He's, smuggling weapons to the Griffin riders to save all of these other people. And it's like, oh, just get over it, Violet. Come on.
Yeah. I get the initial shock. I would be shocked too. But I think as Violet's character, she needs to know everything. She's not a know-it-all, but she needs information to basically function. So if she doesn't know the answers to something, she needs to find it.
Yeah, that's the scribe in her.
Yeah. And then we find that out a little bit more in Iron Flame. So that is definitely an interesting one. Okay. Question. What signet would you want to have at Basgiath if you bonded a dragon?
I, being a meteorologist, would have to have General Sorengale's signet, which is basically controlling storms.
Shocker.
I know, right? What I don't get, though, is why she can't control lightning. So, like, if she can control the storms, why can't she also, like, wield lightning like Violet?
I don't know. Like, I never really understood the difference between their signets. Like, Violet could specifically use lightning. So when we think of storms versus lightning, they should kind of just be together. So she should be able to channel storms, but you can't.
Yeah. So it's, I'm hoping in the future we get more explanation on that. I don't know that we will.
And because she has 2 dragons, does she have 2 signets?
I believe, yeah.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Rebecca Yarros says it's out there. I've read the second book and I still don't know.
Right. I've read both of them. I've read them both at least twice. And so
it's interesting to see.
I know.
That's also what, like, General Sorengale controlled storms. Violet is only lightning. Does that have something to do with it? I don't know.
What would your signet be?
My signet would be, I would love, shadow wielding would be fun. Distance wielding would be beneficial because I'd be able to just go from here to there in like the blink of an eye. But I gotta say, I would love to be an intrinsic. I'd love to know what everyone is thinking. I'm dead anyways, but I wouldn't get caught. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, oh my God, what are you thinking? Why are you saying that? I can read everyone's minds.
Yeah. And then your neck gets snapped immediately because you're an idiot.
You know you're going to die.
I know. It's like, why did you do that? Come on. Play
Stupid. And I would not be that way. I would survive because I like to think I'm a little bit more intelligent than that.
Yeah. We like say this, but obviously it's fiction. So we've never been in this situation, but then it's like in stressful situations, sometimes you just like crumble. You're
like, you know what? It is fiction. So we can say what we want.
Yeah.
Okay. Wrapping up Fourth Wing. Was it worth the hype?
I would say so. I was really glad I read it and that you recommended it to me. Really got me hooked on the genre. And I would recommend it to anyone.
Yeah. I thought it was worth the hype. I actually didn't get the hype right away because I found it last summer and I hadn't really heard of Fourth Wing. I knew A Court of Thorns and Roses. So I just kind of searched the internet and I was like, okay, books like ACOTAR. And then it gave me a bunch of options and Fourth Wing was one of them. And I was like, ooh, I like the cover. Let's see what this is about. And it was about dragons and war college and it had romance. And I was like, sign me up.
Like, oh,
I'm in. I am buckled in. I'm ready for this ride.
Yeah.
Wow. What was I in for?
Yeah. It's a fun world.
It's great.
And it's changing. It's ever changing.
It is ever changing.
So many new things that we're learning about.
You don't know what you're going to get with Rebecca Yarros. It was kind of funny. She's working on her 3rd book, Onyx Storm, right now. And she just kind of did a little teaser on her social media page where everybody's asking these questions about if so many characters are going to live. And she just wrote, they all die. Maybe not. Stop asking me. Like, Rebecca, stop it.
I imagine it's so hard. Like, imagine if Harry Potter was written, like came out during the time of social media.
Yeah. Oh, that would be wild. Right? Or Twilight.
Yeah.
Jacob or Edward.
Well, I mean, that was like when when social media was like starting to kind of come out a bit, but it wasn't as like prominent as now. Like, are you Team Jacob? Are you Team Edward? And so now it's like you have this direct contact to authors. And so I'm sure
authors are posting too. And they're posting content and they're like giving us little snippets of these things and like into their minds and their writing process. And it's like, ooh, I like exciting.
This. I like this new era of books and social media.
As much as social media can be harmful, it can be really fun too. Like there are pros and cons, and I really like the pros, especially when it comes to book talk, because that is a fun community to be a part of.
I'm not on TikTok.
I am on TikTok, and Main Character Syndrome is on TikTok at Main Character Syndrome Pod, both on TikTok and Instagram. Follow me. We will talk about a bunch of books. We'll have different people. Danielle will be back. So, but yeah, that was Fourth Wing. Any other final thoughts, Danielle?
I'm excited to talk about Iron
Flame. I am too.
There's just so much that I'm like, don't say it.
No spoilers. Now. No spoilers for now.
Yeah.
But I will leave you with these parting words. To the readers who listen, we'll see you later.